Did you ever get 5-bet with $1 million stacked behind? I didn't.
Last time he did that to someone and then offered to run it, he had queens.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, and that was like 2
Oh
days ago.
no, Wesley.
Well, I mean, you wanted me to tell you that?
I would have said okay.
Hank now with a monster.
Two different times, just like mundane shit happened at the table. And I said something, he's like, no, it didn't. I'll bet you 25K, you're wrong. And I was like, I backed the fuck up. And I'm like, 25,000 is a lot of money. You're right, Rob. I'm sorry. And this one's like, no, Doug was right. And he's like, oh, really? And then they went back, like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God. Did you do that twice in the same session?
Why are we 5-betting the Mr. Sleepy?
Every fucking five.
When you write the poker strategy memoir, send me a copy. It looks like fucking aces. You put in 501,000.
Wesley out on a limb with ace-7 of hearts, 5-betting. His opponent reaching for chips, not exactly what he wants to see.
Everything starts with a little standard game there. We're playing 501k with $1 million stacks, so 1,000 big blinds in play for each player. Hank starts with a little 3k open raise from under the gun, and Wesley comes over the top with a 3-bet with ace-7 suited to 15k. So far, so standard, you could say. For my taste, the ace-7 suited 3-bet is clearly too big. Lots of players behind. You don't want to put out that much dead money building a pot. Smaller size would allow you to play a wider range total and not get punished. Commentary says that actually he was very tight, so maybe he was just going to take a stand here. Hank follows up with a more or less standard. You could argue for a call, but especially against bigger sizes, if they don't necessarily mean strength, you want to make use of the dead money out there and just put out a 4-bet, right? And then play a big pot with a strong hand, or collect that money and deny some equity right there. So LSG Hank follows up with a 4-bet to 50k, and now things get interesting. Wesley decides to not play the flat call with his suited ace, which would be somewhat reasonable. He doesn't go for the very reasonable fold, I would say, but he decides to go for a 5-bet. So the question is now, when you are that deep, what can you actually 5-bet for value? Can you 5-bet pocket kings? We see that pocket queens already do not feel great. So pocket kings seems to be a close 5-bet actually with that stack depth. If pocket aces are the only hand you really want to 5-bet, and you run the risk of running into aces when you're bluffing, you definitely want to have that blocker when you decide to go for the bluff. So that range that Wesley creates here is very, very, very likely one that consists of maybe some kings, but I actually doubt it. Pocket aces and ace-x suited. Some random playability, going with your ace that you just need to make sure that villain doesn't have that ace too often. And then we are off to a flop and see some crazy action.
Oh boy. Wesley makes middle pair. He's repping kings, aces.
You can see airball. He's gotten silent, realizes a serious hand going on here.
Comes with a little less than third pot. Queen's going nowhere.
Expect Hank to check call whenever he ever goes for a check raise. He's got the overpair, very deep stack, out of position.
I might have just taken kings and mucked them if I wasn't down 700k.
All right, the flop comes 10-7-6, and now it's important that we understand what ranges are playing here. The one range, trying to represent aces, maybe kings as well, and a suited ace-x. So now the question is, do you give up some of them? Do you go for the c-bet all the time? Because the range you're facing should be something like maybe jacks. Are jacks 4-betting under the gun? Definitely queens, definitely kings. Kings are definitely 4-betting. Kings are definitely not 6-betting against a 5-bet. So I think we are facing a range of kings and queens. Now it's interesting, what are we going to c-bet? Are we c-betting everything? And if not, which hands do we choose first? We could have a random ace-5. We could have ace-king for the aces and kings blocker and maximum equity against the queens. So that makes sense to have in your 5-bet range as well. We definitely bet aces, and I like actually continuing with ace-7. Just higher equity is usually always better, and this year is better than ace-5 because that miracle 7 is 2 outs, means 8% to get their turn or river helps you, right? Ace 8, Ace 9 suited, same thing for the gut shot, but you shouldn't expect too many 8x, 9x in those ranges. So it's somewhat deceptive if there is a one card straight, but still I somehow like the board pair a little better. But yeah, probably seeing him c-bet all of that with a small continuation bet, just keeping the pressure up high. The main question here is really which range are we attacking? In my opinion, we are really attacking range of maybe some ace king, kings, queens, jacks. So I personally prefer a more linear sizing plan directional in, because this is what you want to do with aces. There is no garbage that you attack with a small size now, not really. I don't expect Hank to 4-bet 5-6 suited to then call the 5-bet. Like I just haven't seen it in those games. So yeah, expect just strong pocket pairs mainly. And then it doesn't make sense to go small, bigger, and so on. Anyways, we see that small c-bet and the rather easy call with a backdoor flush draw with pocket queens.
How much would you make it with aces?
Oh, he finds the turn 7.
And what do you feel like kings? How do we feel like kings?
Hank now on the ropes.
Check.
Why?
Super disguised trips. Kobe's in hand, loading up.
But like in theory, that's
Big bet.
That's a large wager incoming.
Theory, probably not.
I feel like people say 5-4 is pretty good.
Little
Wow.
over 300. Airball getting restless.
Hank looks paralyzed right now.
Trying to pick up a read. Look at the stare down. Doing the same pose as he did earlier with ace king. This time, nut it up. He calls. We're off to a river. This pot is $1.1 million.
All right, so we see Wesley bink that miracle 7, right? Obviously, he wouldn't get much payoff on an ace, so it's really the miracle 7. Yeah, he decides to blast out a bet of 325k into 400 something, would grow up the pot with a call to just over $1 million to leave about half pot left. Again, I'm not a big fan of that sizing plan going super huge now in terms of percentage of the pot, and then leaving a little less left because there's no 8x, 9x to deny equity from, or like some flush draws, not really. Hank is pretty much making a decision. Is Wesley bluffing or not? How much equity does he have? I think raising is not really an option. He decides to go for the call, and we see a river.
Diamond. We have roughly half pot left.
Check.
Snap shove.
Wesley
Turtle.
prays he doesn't get snap called there by a flush.
Where's the fucking Tom DeWan?
Tom! Hank wanted you to be here while he's facing an all-in. That's all. He just wanted you to be here.
Fuck you. Look.
I'm not sure whether it's irrelevant or not. The flush gets there. It shouldn't be irrelevant at all. If Wesley had a nut flush draw with a suited ace, he got there. Goes obviously for the value jam. I think Hank shouldn't have really flushes in his range. Maybe some ace queen, ace king of diamonds, but I don't see the ace queen of diamonds 4-betting really. I don't see the ace king of diamonds. I mean, maybe the ace of king of diamonds might be one, but we shouldn't worry about that. So he sits on kings and queens and maybe some jacks, having a diamond or not. Wesley puts him all in for like 50 to 60% pot. Hank has a big decision to make. What can we go through in our head here when there are those big decisions? What I like doing here is really to think about what is the value range and how likely is that he played it up to this point like that. Like here it's clearly pocket aces. Do they bet flop, turn? Yes. Do they 5-bet pre-flop? Most likely. Do they jam river? I hope so. Definitely the ones with diamonds. Better all of them because they shouldn't be scared of really anything. It's very, very easy to find those 6 value combinations of aces with very, very high frequency. Then the other point is, okay, what else might go for it and bluff? And how likely is it for each street that they play like that? As we figured out, maybe ace-king is a 5-bet, and maybe suited aces. We definitely want to have that ace in our hand when 5-betting. So ace-x random suited might be ace-7, okay? It's fair enough to not think about that one. Might be ace-5, might be ace-8, might be ace-9. The diamonds got there. How likely is it that diamonds keep barreling flop and turn? I would say incredibly likely, because I don't expect any real check jams here. Something like an ace-4 of hearts, ace-8 of clubs, or the ace-king. So I think like the ace-4 and ace-8 are just very unlikely that they just go all the way on that flush card, not blocking anything, not really going for the absolute bullshit. The ace-king though is the most likely. Like ace-king, when it gets played up to this point like that, and then having a diamond, ace or a king, it's I think very likely that it goes that way, and this is what has to go through Hank's mind. Actually, it's here very, very questionable whether it's good to have a diamond or not. Let's say if we have pocket kings, do you want to have the diamond or not? Because as a flush blocker, it should be absolutely irrelevant, to be honest. It's more blocking bluffs. The queen of diamonds, I would say, is irrelevant, and it's one of the most beautiful because it's the most pure poker decisions you can face. Is your opponent crazy? Does he find enough bluffs, or does he just have it? Like in this spot.
Uh-oh.
Oh, not the Doug.
Red or black?
Call.
He calls!
Wow!
2.2 million! And a celebratory scream from the artist. Wesley says art.
Ace-7. 2 million pot.
Pure art by Wesley.
Alright guys, if you enjoyed that video, make sure to subscribe to the Pokercode channel, and if you want to see more pocket queens, potential bluff catches, check out this video.